For the last couple of days, I have chatted a lot about Bottle Shock, and I've received some really good comments and kind of some back and forth debate and feedback, both from wine lovers as well as people in the industry. And so I've just been really happy to see all of the comments. And then I think that this is a topic that people are really passionate about. And so I wanted to kind of talk in this last video about bottle shock when we're talking about actually bottling the wine, because in the previous videos we talked about how transportation impacts the flavor and the aromatics of a wine, but today I want to talk about kind of what bottle shock means in the bottling. So just to kind of give you a really quick recap, bottle shock is when the aromatics and the flavors and overall complexity of a wine are temporarily kind of muted because of the continuous jostling of the wine. And you see this in ground transportation, air travel, and when a wine is shipped via cargo or by boat. And, you also see this in the bottling line, because when a wine is moved from tank or barrel to bottle, it goes through, it gets torn up a bunch, it goes through a bottling line, it gets a lot of exposure to oxygen. So that's going to cause some bottle shock. But more than anything, the addition of sulfur during the bottling process, or SO2, is what also will cause the wine to go through that bottle shock. And a winemaker, unless they're really kind of practicing more natural winemaking techniques, will be adding sulfur into the wine right before bottling to protect it. Sorry, that's my coffee maker going off. But they will be adding sulfur into the wine before bottling to protect it from all the oxygen that it gets exposed to during the bottling process, but then also to protect the wine once it's in bottle and in the hands of the consumer. So the addition of sulfur in the bottling process will temporarily mute those aromatics and flavors. In addition to that, there are some other additives a winemaker may choose to put in their wine, such as heat stabilizers or cold stabilizers prior to bottling, that may also temporarily shut down those aromatics and flavors of the wine. So all this being said, because that wine is going through kind of a shock to the system, winemakers may choose to hold on to the wine for a couple months, all the way up to 6 months or a year before releasing it to the public. Now, I will say, as a small producer myself, it can be extremely challenging sometimes to hold on to product, because you have to pay for storage for that product. You also, depending if you are selling out of your other wine quicker than expected, you may need to get a new wine on the market. And so there are a lot of factors that go into kind of determining when to release a wine, but for the most part, a winemaker will often choose to wait a little bit after the bottling. So, for example, my Chardonnay, which was 2022 Chardonnay, when this went through the bottling process, I had a event that I had to pour at only about like 3 weeks after bottling, and I didn't have a white wine available for the event. So I immediately pulled this out of storage and decided I would pour it anyways, even though I knew it needed more time in bottle after bottling. So I poured it during the event, and definitely, the wine was really tight. It was still tasting nice, but it just kind of was lacking in complexity and that mouthfeel. And the best description of wine when it goes through immense bottle shock is that it kind of just tastes like booze juice. Like, you get some fruity characteristics, and you'll taste alcohol, but that's pretty much it. The wine isn't doing much beyond that. And so what I did in this instance is, during the event, because the wine was just a little locked up, I told my customers that were coming up to me and tasting my wine, I just said, hey, this just went through bottling, but I wanted to release it today for this event. So just see its potential. I hope you enjoy it and will buy this bottle, but maybe sit on it a few more weeks prior to opening once it's back in at your home. And so all this being said, my Chardonnay, I released it during the event, but it really didn't open up those aromatics and flavors until around the 3rd month that it was in bottle, and then even opened up some more about I would say, you know, a few months later. So at month 6, it was kind of just showing beautifully. But before that, it was a little touch and go. But anyways, with red wines, I mean, if I've had some red wines that will take, you know, 6 or 7 months to really start opening up after the bottling process. And yeah, you know, I think it's important as a consumer to understand all the factors that go into bottle shock during bottling, you know, when a producer will choose to release their wine to the public. But in general, you know, a winemaker will likely just educate their consumers about when it is that, you know, the wine will be tasting its best, and they'll make their decisions around when they want to release it, you know, when the wine is tasting at its peak. But if you're ever curious and you ever just you want to know how long you should cellar a wine, just reach out to the tasting room staff or the winemaker yourself, because they will love to educate you kind of on, you know, how the wine was made, when it was bottled, when you should be opening it. And yeah, just start up that conversation. And then again, you know, if a wine you try from a producer is young and they just released it and you try it and it's just not tasting all that complex, you know, don't give up on the producer. It could just be bottle shock. And I would say buy another bottle, maybe wait a couple months and then revisit that wine and form your opinion then. So anyways, again, this is a very long video and I'm clearly just very passionate about bottle shock, but there you have it. That is talking all about bottle shock in the bottling process of winemaking. So that's it for today. And always hit me up in the comments with any observations you have on bottle shock, any feedback you have, and yeah, bye.